welcome back to yet another episode of the Checkers or Wreckers podcast, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I am your host with the most, Carter Leonard, and welcome to episode 35 of season 1 of the Checkers or Wreckers podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Another week, another new episode, and also a lot of new storylines. We will talk about Kyle Larson's win at Las Vegas this past weekend and ask ourselves the question, is the 5-car team heating up at the right time? And we'll also ask if he is the true championship favorite besides his teammate, William Byron. We'll also dissect the Ryan Blaney penalty that happened after Sunday's race. Oh, wait, what? Okay, change of plans. I guess there is no penalty after all. Then there will be some silly season updates that we will be discussing in the show, ladies and gentlemen, mainly in the truck series regarding some big names like Corey Heim, Christian Eckes, and rookie Jake Garcia. Homestead Miami Speedway is this weekend for NASCAR's touring series, and Homestead is paying tribute to Kevin Harvick in his final Cup Series season. From the name of the race to an old sponsor returning to Harvick for this weekend. And then we'll get into the ratings of Las Vegas. Now, normally we don't talk about ratings a whole lot in this show, but I do believe that it is a topic that we need to discuss, as well as some branding team sort of things. It'll all make sense later on, but as always, with every start of every show, ladies and gentlemen, or every episode, we will start with the weekend recap. It was the Xfinity Series and Cup Series second trip to Las Vegas this weekend, but it wasn't just any ordinary Las Vegas race. This was a playoff race, and for both Xfinity and Cup, it was to decide who will punch their ticket first into the championship four. However, during the Xfinity Series race on Saturday, that was not the case. A driver did win, but it wasn't the driver that you were thinking of, as Riley Herbst, yes, you heard that right, Riley Herbst and the number 98 Ford Monster Energy Mustang picked up his first ever career Xfinity Series win. Herbst being in his fourth full-time season and his third with Stewart-Haas Racing. Despite missing the playoffs this year, Herbst never gave up hope on trying to achieve the one thing that he had not had done in the Xfinity Series so far, that being winning a race. And in his hometown at Las Vegas, he delivered. I was pretty surprised that Riley Herbst got the win on Saturday. I picked Chandler Smith to win. I believe Chandler did come home with a good finish, but Riley Herbst stole the show and was actually one of the more dominant cars, if not the most dominant car of the day. So congratulations to Riley Herbst and Stewart-Haas Racing, and also for Stewart-Haas Racing, it is their 100th win as an organization in NASCAR completely. That's pretty insane to think about, because it just goes to show how a long, I don't know how to say it without messing up, but Stewart-Haas Racing has come a long way since their inception back in 2009, 2010, somewhere around there. So, and now they've finally achieved 100 NASCAR wins. And if you asked me who I thought would have probably gotten the 100 win or where it would have came from, I would have said the Cup Series. But, I mean, comparing their Xfinity Series stats to their Cup Series stats as of right now, Xfinity has a combined 3 wins for the organization, and so far in Cup, that is not the same, even though Kevin Harvick did make the playoffs and was a first-round exit. But it didn't matter for Stewart-Haas Racing. A win is a win, and for Riley Herbst, this was a very big moment for him, as it was just announced the week prior that he would be back to Stewart-Haas Racing for the 2024 season. So I guess that win is a little bit of extra mojo in Riley Herbst's step and him completing out this season. So can Riley Herbst be a threat next year in 2024? Who knows? But for right now, Riley Herbst got the biggest monkey off his back of not winning in an Xfinity Series race, and he finally achieved it. So once again, congratulations to Riley Herbst and the whole entire number 98 team for Stewart-Haas Racing in the Xfinity Series. Now we got to Cup on Sunday. Now we get the Cup. Excuse me. The Cup Series race was truly a very Kyle Larson day, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on one second. I apologize for the interruption, ladies and gentlemen. Back to the Cup Series race that happened at Las Vegas this past weekend. Let's just say it was a Kyle Larson domination day. However, it was close to being a last lap pass, but it did not matter in the end as Kyle Larson picked up not only his 4th win of the year, but with this win, he officially locks himself into the Championship 4 at Phoenix as he will try to race for his 2nd career Cup Series championship, which would, if he wins, it will be his 2nd in 3 seasons, which just goes to show how good Kyle Larson is. I don't think, even though we talk about a lot of drivers on this, show and everything like that, when we talk about Kyle Larson, we don't stress, we don't stress enough how talented and how ridiculous this dude is. I mean, he could take literally a 20 to 25th running car. The car is just tight. It could be tight. It could be loose. The car is just not handling well. It's just bad. It's just not a great day. He could take a car like that and place it inside the top 10, maybe even top 5. That just goes to show how good he actually is. So, and another way of showing how dominant Kyle Larson is that during the race, I believe it was from the middle to end portion of stage 2, when green flag pit stops were happening, Kyle Larson nearly had his day ruined by a near spin coming out of 2, but luckily, with him being one of the most talented race car drivers in the world, he was able to save that car, and quite frankly, that saved him literally from, DNFing and potentially being underneath the cut line in points. And also, some people pointed out that save may have won him the championship, but we'll get to that later on. But as for the race itself, it was a next-gen mile-and-a-half race. You saw a lot of the main playoff guys run up front. Christopher Bell, who was below the cut line, was the most notable out of those 4 drivers below there, and he came close to winning. He ended up finishing 2nd, which, in all retrospective, that is not bad. He could still go out and try to win at Homestead or even Martinsville, which he did last year in order to get into the Championship 4. But Christopher Bell, in his post-race interview, was pretty down on himself, and he said that may have been my shot to win and get in. While I will say this for all Christopher Bell fans, it's not all doom and gloom yet. There's still 2 more opportunities. But then again, I think the main reason why Christopher Bell said that is because these playoffs, as we have known for almost a decade now, since its inception in 2014, they are so unpredictable. You could have the guy, win the most races in a single season, and it will not matter in the end. If you are not, ahead of the 4 other guys, or you're not clutch at the right time, or, you make a lot of mistakes, well, then, tough shit. You don't get it. You don't get a championship trophy. So, unfortunately, that's, but for Christopher Bell's case, I don't believe it's all doom and gloom for him yet, as he did come close to winning. During the closing laps of the race, Kyle Larson had a really, really good lead, but Christopher Bell, with each and every lap, he was putting up way faster lap times on Larson. And I was actually at a sports bar watching the race on my phone, and, coming around maybe 17, 16 laps to go, I was just like, okay, well, Kyle Larson has this wrapped up. And then I was looking at the scoring monitor and the ticker and seeing, the gap in like the seconds, and I'm just like, well, maybe Bell can make something out of this. Maybe he can, you know what they say, it ain't over till it's over. But it came down to one final turn. Larson took the bottom lane on the final lap, and Bell, you don't give Bell the high line. You don't give any dirt racer the high line because, with their background, and I mean, Larson should have known that, but then again, I mean, it doesn't matter in all retrospect, but, with Christopher Bell and his dirt racing background, the high line is just always going to be key. And he got enough momentum out of turn 4. He tried to go high, tried to go low, but for Christopher Bell, it was too little too late as Larson was able to hold him off. So Larson walks away with the win. Can't say I was really surprised this weekend. I expected Hendrick Motorsports and the 5 or 24 team to be fast. So I did get partial of my pick right, if you want to call it that. I picked William Byron to win because of the amount of momentum that he had in the round of 12 with, him being first, second, and second, 3 straight top 5s. I mean, you got to believe that momentum is, it's there. I don't know where he finished on Sunday. I want to say he, where did William Byron finish? I'm going to have to pull it up here. I want to say that he did finish up inside the top 5, but I am not sure. No, he finished 7th, which it's not a bad. That's not bad. That's 4 straight top 10 finishes. I mean, that's not terrible, but, he, compared to his teammate, Byron just had nothing for him. The 2 best cars of the whole day were Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell, so one of those 2 guys were winning, and it just happened to be Larson. So, congratulations to Kyle Larson and the number 5 team at Hendrick Motorsports. Larson may join the exclusive club of being a multi-time champion because the only 2 active multi-time champions in the Cup Series as of right now, correct me if I'm wrong, that is Kyle Busch and Joey Logano at 2 apiece. And if Larson were to win it this year, then all 3 of those drivers would be at 2 apiece, and we would all question, okay, well, who's going to break through, this and that. But the next topic, that'll do it for the weekend recap, by the way. But the next topic is Kyle Larson the championship favorite? So, and the reason why I asked this is not because of how good Larson has been, but because of the fact of there has been a recent trend when it comes to the round of 8. And if a playoff driver wins the first race of the round of 8, that gives that driver and their teams enough time to prepare for the championship race to finish. Because the next 2 weeks, yeah, you got to prep and do all that, but you don't have to stress or you don't have to worry about the next 2 weeks because what you did in the first race, presumably Las Vegas for Larson, you don't have to stress about anything. You could just take the next 2 weeks and just, relax and not have to worry about a thing because you're locked in. The main focus now is trying to hoist up that cup at season's end. And that's the case for Kyle Larson and, Cliff Daniels and, the whole entire 5 team. But the main question, is he the favorite? If I'm going to be completely honest, I am going to have to say when it comes to Kyle Larson on if he's the championship favorite, I'm going to have to say yes as of right now, because if there is any time for any playoff driver to heat up at this moment, it's the round of 8. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that William Byron statistically has had a better season than Larson. I mean, the wins, the top 5s, and the top 10s, which I believe Larson does have more top 5s than Byron, I believe. But, Byron has the 6 wins. It's, when it came to who's the best Hendrick driver this year, it's been William Byron. But Larson's been the second guy. I mean, before the playoffs, he had 2 wins. But then again, it was always the checkers or wreckers, narrative, and like I mentioned, a couple of weeks ago, there's been times where like Larson should have had, you know, a race won, but it didn't go into his favor. I don't know if it was just luck or if, what the case was, but Larson technically should have about like, I'm going to go out on a limb and say like 6-7 wins. Like there's been a few wins that have like, that got away from him. Kansas in the spring being one of them, but I think he was going to get passed by Hamlin anyways, but that's neither here nor there. But, unfortunately, that's just not how it works sometimes. Even the best drivers get screwed sometimes. It happens. But the past is in the past, and, the present is, well, the present. And Larson is heating up right now. I mean, with this win at Las Vegas, and we're going to his best racetrack this weekend, that being Homestead Miami Speedway. I would be shocked if anyone but him or other dirt guys like Bell or Reddick, those guys are in the conversation to win there as well. But I would be shocked if anyone but Larson won there because, he's the odds-on favorite to win there. I mean, it's just clear as day, That's all. That's basically that. So Larson is heating up at the right time, and I don't know if he's going to win. I don't know if he's going to sweep the round of 8. I think he's going to get 2/3 out of it because even though he did win at Martinsville in the spring, I think Martinsville is more of a Byron track because that's one of William Byron's best racetracks. So, I think Byron wins that to lock himself in, but that's just less time to prepare for, a championship. I mean, it's not like Byron's in a bad point situation at all. I mean, he's well above the cut line. I mean, he should not have to worry about a thing. But, like I said earlier, the playoffs are just unpredictable. You could have the most wins, most stage points, most all of that. But, there's always that slight risk of you slipping and falling out. Kevin Harvick in 2020 as an example, that happened. Just all that stuff. So, as I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, sorry I had a phone call coming in. So, but yeah, Larson, quite frankly, as of right now, is the odds-on favorite to win the title. I mean, Byron is still up there, but at the same time, it's all about heating up at the right time because, that's where the momentum, to propel you to a championship is going to come. And I would not be surprised if Larson does get the title at the end of the year. I mean, this season has been odd for Larson because he's been good. He's been, a title threat. But the thing is, just like, I feel like that compared to his 2021 season, which is the season that he won his first title, obviously, the comparisons are way, way different. But, yeah, so what the point I'm trying to make is that, Larson is just, once you give that dude an inch of momentum, he is going to take it all the way. I mean, Larson, he's that guy. I mean, he's just that guy. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so that'll do it for that conversation on if he is the title threat. I keep getting distracted by someone, messaging me, but yeah. So now we get into our next topic of the show, and it was a bit of a debacle, if I have to, or debacle, or however you pronounce it. It was a big problem at the end of Sunday's race, as sixth-place finisher Ryan Blaney, who was a driver below the cut line, needed a solid finish to gain some points. It didn't put him over the cut line with that finish, but it definitely helped. But after Sunday's post-race inspection, it was found that Ryan Blaney's number 12 car had a shock mount, or a, however you call it, a left front shock mount that was too short. So NASCAR penalized him for that. So he is now 56 points below the cut line. Wait, what? Wait, he's not penalized anymore? So you're telling me they overturned the penalty? Wait, what? Okay, so obviously I'm being overdramatic with this, but a day later, NASCAR announced that they have rescinded the penalty. So here's the whole situation from the CBS Sports article that I have with me as of right now. On Sunday evening, NASCAR disqualified the number 12 Team Penske Ford after determining that the left front shock on Blaney's car did not meet the overall specified length outlined in the NASCAR rulebook. However, NASCAR said Monday that a further review conducted at the Sports Research Development Center in Concord, North Carolina, led to the discovery of an issue with the damper template used for inspections in the garage area at Las Vegas. So, I guess you could say this is on NASCAR per se. So, what I'm getting out of this, and I'm not an inspection wizard, I don't always know the ins or outs. I do know some things of what is legal and what's not, but, you know, you get what I'm saying here. But apparently what I'm assuming is that NASCAR used the wrong template part that they were supposed to use for, you know, that part of the inspection, and they automatically assumed, oh, wait, the left front shock on the 12 car is short, we will disqualify them and take away all their points. But then they got back to the Research Development Center and they looked at the proper and the actual tool that they were supposed to use, and they said to themselves, whoopsie poopsie, and decided, well, sorry, Ryan Blaney, that's our bad. We didn't mean to do that, so we'll give him his points back. So as of this current recording, or before this current recording, Blaney sat 56 points below the cut line due to that said penalty, which put him in a must-win situation. But however, since NASCAR rescinded the penalty, Blaney currently sits 17 points below the cut line as he moves up one spot. So, I don't know really what to make of this. I mean, I already said my thoughts on it and, you know, what actually happened. But I do agree that this was a goof made by NASCAR. And a lot of people, mainly, you know, Ryan Blaney fans, I'm not going to name any names. Not that I know any Blaney names personally, or Blaney fans personally. Wait, I take that back. There's Caden. Shout out to Caden. But there were a lot of people criticizing NASCAR for it. And you know what? Some of it is justified. I mean, NASCAR in their past has done some goofy things with inspection that they determine was the wrong thing, but then they look back on it and they're just like, oh, you know, that's definitely our bad. And this is one of those situations. But then again, I don't think that, you know, they need to be, I don't know if it's a off with their head type of situation. I mean, at the end of the day, the people who do these, inspections, they're human beings. They're just like you and me the host, you the viewer. They make mistakes. It happens, Obviously, do we get frustrated at it sometimes, like this situation? Yeah, absolutely. But, it is what it is. You know what they say, shit happens. So, I'm glad Ryan Blaney is still in the hunt. I don't know if he's going to make the championship four. I mean, it's possible, like I said in the playoffs, anything's possible, but at the same time, I don't know if that's going to really benefit him a whole lot. It doesn't put him in the must-win situation considering that he's only 17 points out. He's behind Christopher Bell, who is 2 points outside the cut line, and in 6 is Tyler Reddick, who is 16 points out the cut line. So, right there. So, this doesn't put Blaney in the must-win situation, but it does. It doesn't really, it's not, all sunshine and rainbows just yet. He still has Homestead and Miami to deal with. So, to wrap this whole topic up about the penalty, it was just a NASCAR goof. It happens. So, I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen again. Like I said, they make mistakes, and it does get frustrating sometimes, especially when it happens to it's frustrating when it happens to any driver because, regardless if you like the driver or not, it puts them in a very vulnerable situation of, this stinks. How is this, this penalty is, it's ruined. It's ruining our season, this, and that. And then all of a sudden NASCAR's just like, oh, wait, never mind. Sorry. Psych. Gotcha. And you're just like, bro, are you really for real? So that'll do it for that topic. Ryan Blaney, is just, he was saved. He was saved for the most part. Now we get into the next topic of the show, ladies and gentlemen, and quite frankly, it's been one of my favorite topics as of the recent weeks, and that is the weekly silly season update. I say that as if that's going to be a new trademark of the show, which, I mean, it could be in the future. You never know. Anything can happen. But mainly the silly season updates that we have this week have come from the truck series. Starting out this week, it was announced with Tricon Garage that Corey Heim will indeed be returning to the number 11 truck for 2024. Corey Heim, I mean, we've said a lot this year about him. He's had a really solid season. He is going to go fight for a championship at Phoenix after his win at Bristol. 3 wins, and he only has 2 races where he finished outside the top 10. And by the way, he missed a race earlier this year. During the Gateway race, he was out with a sickness. Jesse Love had to come in and fill in for him. And Corey Heim got a playoff waiver, obviously. But even if he didn't, get sick and miss that race, Corey Heim would still be in the championship for and still have a very, very consistent season. I expected this from Heim this year, with his starts at Kyle Busch Motorsports the previous season, getting 2 wins, it really impressed me a lot because Corey Heim is definitely what I feel like is one of the next future superstars of this sport. Now, do I believe that he needs another year in trucks? If I'm being honest, no. I think he's well deserving of a JGR Xfinity Series seat. Because JGR's Xfinity Series lineup, with Sammy Smith leaving to go to JRM and John Hunter Nemechek going to Legacy Motor Club in the Cup Series, that leaves, their entire lineup completely empty. They do intend to have 2 full-time cars and an all-star car next year, so it will be 3 JGR cars essentially. But there's no name set in stone. There's been a few names that have been floated out recently. There's been Ryan Truex, Trevor Bayne, Corey Heim was definitely one of the names mentioned before Bob Parker said he's expected to do another year of trucks. But back to Corey Heim for a second and what I think this does to him in the long-term future. And I do have a theory, and a lot of people picked up on this theory, including the Daily Downforce as well. But could Corey Heim potentially skip Xfinity, which, I mean, is possible, and go straight to the Cup Series? And why do I bring up this theory? Well, because the 2 other best Truck Series drivers, Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar, they are doing the exact same thing. Now, what the main difference is with them is Hocevar and Smith both have a good number of Cup Series starts under their belt. Corey Heim, on the other hand, only has a couple of Xfinity Series starts, and, he doesn't have any Cup Series experience. He's 22, 23 years old. He's still very young. There was a theory by the Daily Downforce, and I'm going to read it off to you, and that is their article posting of could Corey Heim, potentially go up to Cup in 2025. Now, where would he go, Toyota-wise? There is a theory out there saying that 2024 could be Martin Truex Jr.'s final year, and that John Hunter Nemechek will get back in the JGR lineup and, take over from there on, and the 42 spot will be left open. And, wanting, obviously Legacy would want a Toyota driver or someone in that seat, and Corey Heim could potentially skip Xfinity and go up there. Now, why are drivers doing this all of a sudden? Why are drivers actually doing this all of a sudden? Now, I'm getting sidetracked here because I got to talk about silly season news, but I'm going to wrap this up quickly. It's because, when it comes to the 3 Touring Series, the next-gen car in the NASCAR Cup Series compared to Xfinity and trucks is way different. There is like 1,000 differences with this car, with the next-gen car compared to the Xfinity and truck series. And some people, some drivers, have made the comparison of trucks to, the Cup Series, essentially. I doubt the trucks actually have sequential shifting or anything like that, but a lot of drivers are not wanting to waste time in trying to learn the next-gen car because, no disrespect to the Xfinity Series, I think it's useful to some extent, but let me ask you, the viewers, this. What are you going to learn in the Xfinity Series car that you can apply to a Cup Series car? When the next-gen car has thousands upon thousands of differences, what are you going to learn in the Xfinity Series car and apply to that level? The answer is nothing. There's nothing. So why not waste any time and jump up? Now, is it going to turn everybody into superstars all of a sudden? No, it's not always, because Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar, I believe, are generational talents, as well as Corey Heim. But, it's weird. It's weird to say, honestly. It's honestly weird to say because, I think Corey Heim could do it, but, who knows? I mean, good luck to him in the rest of the season. I'm getting very, very sidetracked as of right now because I do like Corey Heim. I think he could be a future star in the sport. That's a theory out there. I mean, he could still get a Joe Gibbs Racing Xfinity Series ride in 2025, but, why not waste any time and go in the Cup if a spot is available? I mean, who knows? But we had some more Truck Series news come out this week, mainly with BMR, McAnally, Hildegram Racing, as Christian Eckes announced that he will be returning in the 19 truck next year. I actually did mention Christian Eckes as one of the possible candidates that could get an RCR Xfinity Series ride for next year. That will not happen. I believe him returning, that will make it his 5th full-time Truck Series season, because I remember his rookie season with Kyle Busch Motorsports in 2020. Then he did Thor Sport for 2 years. Now he's with McAnally this year. Yes, 2024 will be his 5th full-time year in the Truck Series. He is currently 22, 23 years old. He's one of the young prospects in our sport. I definitely think that he deserves an Xfinity Series opportunity, and I thought RCR would definitely be the place for him to go. But I don't mind this decision either. I think he's done really good things with McAnally this year. He is a championship contending truck as of right now. He could lock up a spot this year and, a spot this weekend, I should say, excuse me. And, get a championship this year, lock up a spot in the championship 4 and win a championship. So, but if he can't do it this year, he might do it next year. So, yeah, good for Christian Eckes and McAnally. But with one McAnally news, there is a McAnally news part 2, if that makes any sense. As rookie Jake Garcia, who has been Eckes' teammate this year, which, by the way, Jake Garcia has definitely impressed me with some of the runs that he has had this year. He didn't make the playoffs, but there have been times where Jake Garcia is running up inside the top 5 and top 10, mainly at short tracks because he comes from a late model background. So he has done wonders in the number 35 truck, but it was announced that he would not be returning to the number 35 truck for next year. McAnally does have a lot going on for them next year. They have Eckes returning, and they also have Daniel Dye joining them next year with the 43 truck. So that's 2 truck series seats filled up. But Jake Garcia did release a statement saying, I've thoroughly enjoyed my rookie season in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series with everyone at McAnally Hilgeman Racing. And the support of our partners at Quanta Services and Adaptive One, we have had fast trucks, strong finishes, and have had a lot of reasons to be proud of our effort. However, I will be pursuing a new opportunity in 2024 that I am excited to share in the near future. Until then, our number 35 team is going to finish this season with 100% effort over the final 2 races and hope to get in the victory lane. So, from this statement, I am definitely eyeballing that sentence. The sentence, however, I will be pursuing a new opportunity in 2024 that I am excited to share in the near future. So I'm guessing and I'm assuming that Jake Garcia does have a full-time ride next year. Where exactly? Your guess is as good as mine. I want to say that he is staying in trucks. Maybe there's an Xfinity Series spot, possibly. I mean, I wouldn't say that's off the table, but I would like to see him. And, as much as I criticize the Truck Series for not being a legit development series for young prospects, there are some drivers in there that can actually benefit from that. And I believe Jake Garcia is one of those drivers. But I don't know where he would land up. Spire, maybe? I'm sure he's going to find a ride somewhere because, like I said, and I mentioned earlier, Jake Garcia is definitely a talented prospect. I don't know if he's a generational talent, but for what the 35 truck is, and even though it's a playoff contending truck series team, but the 19, that being Eckes, is always going to be the main priority. It's always going to be priority number 1. Jake Garcia has definitely run in places where that 35 truck shouldn't be. So I hope whoever's getting Jake Garcia, you are getting a very talented young driver. From what I've seen in his late model stuff to his truck series starts, you are definitely getting a very talented driver. And we are back for, I actually did get some breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, during the middle of the show. And this is coming from Matt Weaver himself, saying that the contract buyout from Colleague Racing has been secured. Chandler Smith, even though there isn't an official announcement yet, he will drive for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series in 2024. Also, there is going to be another move with Joe Gibbs Racing as Sheldon Creed will most likely tag along. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, the bombshell has happened. So, I don't have the full article with me, but it says at Gibbs, Smith will be designated the first backup driver should Cup contenders Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Bell, or Ty Gibbs miss any time for whatever reason. While also not official, the expectation is that Smith will be paired with Sheldon Creed at the Gibbs Xfinity Series team next season, with numbers and sponsorships to be decided at a later date. Oh, man. This is my live reaction, ladies and gentlemen. It was rumored, but I didn't know if it was actually going to happen. Of a Chandler Smith buyout. And Sheldon Creed was also rumored to JGR for a bit as well. But man, I was just mentioning earlier how the Gibbs Xfinity Series team did not have any slots available for next year for any of their full-time entries. And now they have them. Wow. Bombshell news during in the middle of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, holy moly. So, I guess this is a good way of wrapping up the silly season portion of the show, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, wow, just, oh my goodness. That is just, I expected, a move to be made soon from the JGR camp, but I didn't know it was going to be during, my show. So, Yeah, I mean, good for both Chandler Smith and Sheldon Creed. The announcement, from what I am understanding from the sources that I am getting, is expected to be on Monday. So, yeah. So, wow. The Chandler Smith and colleague experiment is officially over. Only after 1 year. And it was a multi-year deal, too. So, wow. Colleague racing, man, that is just, oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. But anyways, on with the show, ladies and gentlemen. With our next topic of the show, ladies and gentlemen, Homestead Miami Speedway is this weekend, but it will also be paying tribute to Kevin Harvick's final season. Kevin Harvick obviously retiring at the end of the season, so Homestead Miami Speedway decided to do something special as for the name of the race. This weekend's Cup Series race will be titled Mobile One Presents the Forever 400. The Forever, the Kevin Harvick trademark thing, at Homestead Miami Speedway. So that is really cool to see. So glad they're paying tribute to Kevin Harvick. I mean, a lot of great memories for Kevin at that track, where he got his only Cup Series championship in 2014. And speaking of which, of that 2014 season, Stewart-Haas Racing also announced that Budweiser will be on the hood of Kevin Harvick's number 4 Ford Mustang this upcoming weekend, and it will be the throwback scheme to his first and only Cup Series championship back in 2014. The famous Budweiser scheme when he first joined Stewart-Haas Racing that season. So this is very, very cool. I mean, this is literally the ideal tribute weekend that Kevin Harvick could have at one of his, best tracks. So, this isn't really the biggest topic to talk about. I don't really have a whole lot to talk about this, but I just wanted to mention it because it's really, really cool. I mean, we have seen in the past with venues or race title sponsors of paying tribute to drivers and future Hall of Famers, ending their career that season. I mean, during the 2015 season, Jeff Gordon and Phoenix Raceway literally came together to form Jeff Gordon Raceway for the the final Phoenix race of that season before the championship race the following week. So that's a good example of that happening. So very cool for Homestead to be doing that. That's all I really got to say about that. But now another topic that we are going to talk about, and I don't really talk about this a whole lot, but it's TV ratings. Now, TV ratings for NASCAR have been pretty self-explanatory if you're a longtime fan of the sport. But if you're a new fan listening into the show, TV ratings this year for NASCAR I'm just going to go ahead and say it, they've not been great. And mainly the part where the ratings are the worst or not as good is the playoff time. Now, you would think to yourself, well, I mean, it's playoff season, with other professional sports, you would think that, the ratings would be high. And ideally, yes. But we have to realize something is that playoffs and motorsports are not ideally the very big attention grabber. So compared to last year's Las Vegas race and this year's, the ratings have been down 16.2%. And a lot of people are making the argument, and while it does hold some form of weight to it, the NFL season is here, and obviously during the afternoon when the races are going on, everyone's attention is on, the NFL games during, Sunday afternoons. But at the same time, I don't really feel like that is a good enough excuse anymore, because NASCAR is still pulling in at about 2 million people per weekend during the playoffs. We got about 2.1 million this past weekend, and last year we had about, I believe, 2.8 6, 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there. Right around that area. So, it's not because of the NFL, taking away viewership. I mean, it's part of it, but the main reason is because, playoffs are just not, they're not it in NASCAR. I mean, we have said this. I mean, it's not going to change anytime soon, because if it was going to change, it would have changed long ago, like after 2 seasons. Obviously, I'm not completely against the playoffs per se. I'm not one of those people that are going to go out and say, oh, well, if we had the old Winston Cup Series points format, everything, would be completely fine. I'm not one of those boomers or anything like that, but I will agree with the fact that the playoffs are not gaining interest. No matter how hard you push promos, or, mainly let's talk about promos with playoffs for a second. You show a lot of crashes, a lot of beating and banging, and a lot of people are thinking to themselves when they see this, oh, this must happen every single week. There's drama every single week. And then they tune into a race, which, no, I'm not saying every race has to have that. You could have a completely fine race, which is all right by me. I'm not saying that it has to have action-packed wrecks or anything like that. But to any normie viewer who looks at this and they think to themselves, wait a minute, this wasn't as good as advertised. Why am I even here, and why am I even watching this? So, yeah, that's just the unfortunate truth, honestly. But I can't really say, I don't really have a fix for this per se, because, obviously I don't know how to create a points format, or anything like that. But I will say that, you want a main reason why ratings are down during the playoffs. It's because of the playoffs themselves, and the interest is just not there in motorsports for, them. So it's just not there. But with that being said, we also have some more news to talk about regarding the TV deal. As we're in the month of October, and we should have already had this, plan done by now. There's been recent talks about NASCAR saying, oh, we're not in the rush to do it or anything like that. But Adam Stern did tweet earlier in the week, as I'm trying to find the tweet right now, actually. It says, back in the spring, sources said to expect new NASCAR deals by the middle of the summer. In the middle of the summer, they pushed the likely agreements to Labor Day. This week, executives did not want to hazard a guess, not even off the record. So there have been a lot of problems with these deals going on. Like, there's been a lot of, things that have been going on. First things first, it was the whole schedule thing, because, NASCAR was dealing with the whole, trying to get the whole schedule going for next year and stuff like that. It got pushed all the way to October. It was announced on October 3rd of what the schedule would look like. So that's one thing down. Okay, cool. Now you have 2 things to worry about. That's the TV deal and the new charter agreement, and teams are involved in both of those. Now, I've already explained numerous times of, how this works. I've given my best explanation. I'm sure there's others out there who could give it better than I can, but I'm just giving you what I think and all that. It's money. It's just money, all that stuff like that, all that stuff. There's been rumors of a split happening, which I don't really see happening, because it doesn't, I don't really know if there's any, I would consider, leverage as of right now. I mean, to have it per se, I'm sure the teams have a lot of leverage, but I just don't see a split happening. But, so this tweet by Adam Stern, it really makes me question, what's the latest that this deal could get done? Because we have to decide what the TV deal is going to be by 2025, because I don't think NASCAR, anyone, wants to sit back and, basically they're the, I think someone made the best comparison, the best. It's like a college or high school student, you know, like waiting till like the very last second to get their assignments done. Now, I know that there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that are hindering this process. I get it. It's a business thing, but we're creeping close to the start of 2024. It's October 20th as I'm recording of this podcast. Again, we're really pushing it. I'm not saying we're in trouble, but to say that we're leaning that way would be a big understatement. So, like I said numerous times, and the only response I could give is hopefully this all gets sorted out and we don't go in the full panic mode, because if we do, then, I guess all hell breaks loose. I mean, I'm just, that's all I can really say. That's all I can really say because, yeah. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for that topic of the show. And we are coming down to the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's a little bit shorter than usual, but we have to talk about the weekend ahead along with race picks, ladies and gentlemen. It is the annual NASCAR trip to Homestead Miami Speedway. You have the Trucks and Xfinity tomorrow afternoon, and the Cup Series race, that being the second race of the round of 8 this upcoming Sunday. Now, with the Truck Series race this weekend, this will be the final race before they decide their championship 4. Currently, as of right now, Corey Heim is the only driver to lock himself in with a win, which came at Bristol just a little over a month ago. And the reason why it was a month ago is simply because, well, I've already given my thoughts on why the Truck Series schedule is not fun, because I do like seeing the Truck Series, but they have too many off weeks, but that's neither here nor there. So the current point situation as of right now is Corey Heim, obviously locked in, Carson Hocevar plus 23, Christian Eckes plus 9, and rookie Nick Sanchez plus 3. He will be back behind the wheel for the first time since his altercation with Matt Crafton at Talladega. And below the cut line is Grant Enfinger minus 3, teammates at Thor Sport, Ben Rhodes and Ty Majeski at minus 5 and minus 19 respectively, and the defending Truck Series champion, who is in a must-win situation as of right now, and that is Zane Smith. This is very interesting because Zane Smith did have a pretty bad run at Talladega, which he finished fine at Bristol. He nearly got the win there. I do believe he finished up inside the top 5, but with a bad finish at Talladega, it put him in a must-win situation. He could try to go out and win this weekend, defend for his Truck Series title. But as I'm recording this, Truck Series qualifying just finished up, and Nick Sanchez was able to get the pole. So, Nick Sanchez, he could upset this weekend and, get a, championship 4 spot and, shock the world. But who do I have winning this race when it comes to race picks, ladies and gentlemen? This is a very tough one because I do want to go for one of the top 4 guys. I'm not going to go with Nick Sanchez, however, because I don't, as much as I think Nick is a very talented driver and I think he could possibly shock, the Truck Series field, I just believe that there are other guys better than him, guys like Carson Hocevar, Christian Eckes, and Zane Smith. So, for my pick to win, I think, and I'm going to be a little bit bold with my pick here, I think against all odds, I think Zane Smith will get it done this weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway and clinch a spot in the championship 4 and try to defend his Truck Series championship. So, for my Homestead pick for the Truck Series this weekend, it is Zane Smith. Now we jump to the Xfinity Series, which is later tomorrow after the Truck Series race. And So far, an Xfinity Series playoff driver has not locked themselves into the championship four, but as of right now, the top four is looking like this. So you have John Hunter Nemechek at plus 47, Justin Allgaier at plus 21, Austin Hill plus 19, and Cole Custer at plus 15. And below that, you have the rest of the top eight. You have Chandler Smith at minus 15, Sam Mayer at minus 16, Sammy Smith minus 35, and Sheldon Creed minus 41. So that's what the playoff situation for the Xfinity Series looks like as of right now. Now, for my pick to win this weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway, I can't recall if he has a Truck Series win here or not. But regardless, I think the easiest pick to go with is John Hunter Nemechek. I mean, the dude is, he's been ridiculous in Xfinity so far this year. So why not get the win to lock himself into the championship four and just not have to worry about anything the following week at Martinsville. So for my Xfinity Series pick this weekend, I am going to go with John Hunter Nemechek. Then we get into the main event Sunday, the Forever 400, the second race of the round of 8 for the NASCAR Cup Series at Homestead Miami Speedway. Currently, the point situation for the Cup Series looks like this. You have Kyle Larson, who is obviously locked in after his win at Las Vegas. You have William Byron at plus 9, teammates at Joe Gibbs Racing, Martin Truex Jr., and Denny Hamlin at plus 2. Yes, both of these drivers are at plus 2. I am reading the points off the NASCAR app. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then below, you have their teammate in 5th, which is Christopher Bell minus 2. At 6th, you have Tyler Reddick minus 16. Ryan Blaney nearly escaping a penalty in 7th at minus 17. And Chris Buescher, after having a mild weekend at Las Vegas, at minus 23. So that is how the points look for the Cup Series going into Homestead this weekend. And with all three touring series, everything can change. I mean, it's just the nature of the playoffs. Now, who do I believe is going to win a Homestead Miami Speedway? Kyle Larson. I mean, do I really have to sit back and explain why Kyle Larson is going to win? I mean, if anyone else is going to challenge Larson in winning at Homestead, it's either Christopher Bell, who knows, Christopher Bell, he might get his get back, as all you kids like to say, or Tyler Reddick, who, when it comes to Tyler Reddick at Homestead, he's made 3 starts there in his first 3 seasons in Cup Series. He's only been in his 4th full-time season. But with Tyler Reddick, 2 of his 3 Homestead races, he's finished up inside the top 5, and that includes a runner-up finish in 2021. So Reddick has been close to winning at Homestead before. Maybe this weekend could be the weekend, and, he could be a potential upset. I mean, I talked about it last week when it comes to Reddick, with the momentum that he had coming out of the round of 12, that he could, sneak into the championship 4 or win a race at one of the tracks. Now, he didn't have a bad day at Las Vegas. He did finish up inside the top 10. He finished 8th, which is actually where he started, but it wasn't the day that he needed like a guy like Christopher Bell, who, showed a good amount of speed. So, but besides all that, besides those 2 drivers who I think will challenge Larson to win, I am picking Kyle Larson 100% to win a Homestead Miami Speedway. Like, there is no way in hell I am going to get this pick wrong. Like, this is probably the most confident I have ever been with a pick so far this season. Like, I'm not the only one either. Like, I am definitely not the only one who thinks that Larson is the odds-on favorite to win a Homestead Miami Speedway. So, yeah, so my picks for this weekend: Truck Zane Smith, Xfinity John Hunter Nemechek, and Cup Series Kyle Larson. I am guaranteed to get one of those picks right, and you know which pick I'm referring to. You know which one I'm referring to. But with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for yet another episode of the Checkers or Records podcast. We are almost coming down to the end of season 1. Man, look how far we've come. It has just been I can't wait to see what next season is in store for us, man. It's gonna be fun. The future of the show is it's on the rise. It's on the rise, ladies and gentlemen. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode or listening to this week's episode of the Checkers or Wreckers podcast. And I will see you guys next week as we preview Martinsville Speedway, and we will find out that weekend on who will contend for the Cup Series title at Phoenix this year. With all that being said, I am your host, Carter Leonard, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.